Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Bloom, Group Publisher of Roofing Contractor, and welcome to our Best of Success podcast show. It is such an honor to have with me today Reid Ribble, the Honorable Reid Ribble, who's a former congressman and also a former CEO of NRCA, and as well as Art Eisner, our editor-in-chief of Roofing Contractor. But Reid, it's great to see you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Well, you're really welcome, and to both you and Art. You could have just said one of my longtime friends. It's really good to be back with you guys.
That's absolutely true. You are no doubt, Reid, have been a very dear friend over the years for sure. And it's really exciting to know that you are going to be the keynote speaker for IRE coming up. And welcome back to roofing.
Well, they say you can never get away from it, but I was a little surprised. Originally, Informa called me to query about potential speakers for IRE, and I gave them a list of more suitable candidates, and they kind of worked around in a circle and came back and said, well, really, we're wondering if you'd be interested in coming back to the stage. And that's how that whole thing kind of got rolling and how I ended up where I am.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, everyone's going to be really excited to see you back at in San Antonio here coming up here. But so what have you been up to since you've retired from NRCA?
Yeah, I serve on a couple corporate boards, so that keeps my business mind active and engaged. I do a little bit of business consulting, but not a lot. I mostly do whatever's in Dina's mind at any given moment. And we spend a lot of time with our family. We're trying to travel. We went to Normandy for a few weeks and to Iceland, and we want to go see some places that I was able to see when I was in Congress, but Dina's not been to. And so while we're still in pretty good health, we're going to try to go and do the things that we've put off for all those years while I was working full time.
Very nice. Well, Art, I know you've got a question you want to ask too, so I'll turn it over to you.
Reid, you mentioned coming back to the IRE stage. Certainly, anyone that was there remembers your 2022 keynote speech. Was really a fiery speech, really inspirational. You told a lot of personal stories. I think that even people who did know you didn't know about you. I was curious if you still do a lot of public speaking, and then particularly in the roofing space. And then let's talk about how this year's keynote might be a little different from the last time folks in roofing saw you.
Yeah, so a couple questions there, Art. I do a fair amount of public speaking yet. Sometimes in the roofing industry, I've spoken for some of the major roofing manufacturers that everybody would know, like Atlas and IKO, and have been at their events. But I also speak to a lot of business events and to various business communities and development areas that where someone will reach out to me and say, would you be able to come and talk to this group about this topic or that? And so I stay as busy as I want to stay. It's not like I'm out there actively promoting myself, but if an opportunity comes along and it's something that interests me and something new, then I'm more likely to take it. As far as the speech I'll be giving at this year's IRE, it's going to be totally different than what I did a few years ago. That doesn't mean I won't use the same style of speaking. There'll be a lot of stories intertwined in what I talk about, because I think storytelling is one of the ways that causes people to remember key points. However, it's a totally different speech. It's a brand new speech. And one of the reasons I was willing to come and do it, because Informa was gracious enough to let me write something new.
Well, let's talk about that topic. You're going to address the crowd about this, the American dream and where what that version looks like in 2025. So tell us what is the state of the American dream from your perspective?
Yeah, they asked me to answer a specific question. They said, could you in your speech answer the question, is the American dream dead? And that's being driven by a lot of media. And this happens often during the political cycles, which we just went through as a country, where politicians have to convince you how bad things are so that they can then convince you to vote for them, because then things will be good and wonderful. And so there was a lot of discussion. There are hundreds and hundreds of articles and economists and even political candidates like President Trump stating that the American dream is dead. And so I thought, well, that would be a really interesting question to answer because is the American dream dead? Has the American dream ever died, or is it alive and well, and is it still going? And I don't want to blow the bubble or the big reveal, but I can tell you that this speech will end up being very inspirational. People are going to feel good about the country that they live in, the work that they do, and the future that is there for their children.
Well, I think there's no doubt a lot of the roofers are seeking that American dream, and you'll probably talk about some of the keys that could be coming for their success. I'm curious, though, for you, how would you feel about being a roofing entrepreneur today compared to when you broke into the business?
It's a totally different business. It's not even the same business. I mean, what we do as roofing company owners is pretty much the same in that we identify customers who have a need. We provide a solution to that need. We provide a price to address the need. The difference is that a lot of the roofing industry today is now then subcontracting the delivery of the fix or that new roofing project. They're delivering it differently with subcontracted labor. So they're going out and selling that job to somebody else to deliver it. That's a completely different dynamic. And I mean, you've got a huge number, somewhere around 70% of roofing contractors in the United States are using subcontracted labor today. This is a much different environment. When I had my roofing company, that only goes back to 2009. We weren't using subcontracted labor hardly at all. I mean, it'd be rare. We would use subcontractors for waste management or plumbing or electrical. Sometimes if the sheet metal got too elaborate for our own fab shop, we would use it. But today, almost all elements of roofing are being subcontracted out. And so roofing companies are more marketing organizations and sales organizations than ever before. So yeah, I'd love it. It's a lot easier operating model for sure.
Well, what do you think, or what are you hoping that roofing contractors will get out of attending the keynote?
What I hope that they'll get is a new, well, first of all, if they bought into the idea that the American dream is dead, I want to talk about what the American dream actually looks like and how it plays out in today's modern world. But I'm also going to take a walk down memory lane and talk about the power of nostalgia. I think we all have a tendency to look back to our youth and say how great it was when we were kids. And of course it was great when we were kids because somebody else was paying the bills and we didn't have any responsibility, and our parents typically made life pretty good for us without regard to the circumstances. But our parents were living their version of the American dream, and I lived my version of the American dream, and my children are living their version of the American dream. And that immigrant seeking a new opportunity in the United States is looking for his or her version of the American dream. And so what I really hope that people leave with is that the myth that the American dream is gone it is based on some circumstances that aren't real or new, and that as every generation has discovered in the United States from the beginning of time till now, that the American people are industrious, they're resourceful, they're imaginative, and they're problem solvers. And so even if we had a major global conflict like World War II, people thought the American dream was dead during the 1930s and 40s, but it really wasn't. The country came out of that stronger than ever before, and it always does.
Yeah, well, we're excited for that. We're excited to hear you speak, Reid. There's no doubt you deliver incredible stories. The stories that you talked about a couple years ago I still remember, as you and I were talking about before we got on. So your volleyball story is something that I've shared with my own kids, which has been very impactful. So the impact you made, at least on me specifically, I know it was on everybody in that audience last time. So we are excited to hear your impactful stories again this year. So thank you so much for coming back to speak and share your amazing stories. And we can't wait to see you then.
I'm looking forward to it.
Specific to San Antonio, or of course, the last time in Texas, the industry continues to draw record crowds to the IRE event. So is there anything that you'd like to say, either about returning back to Texas or just the health of the IRE show in general from what you've seen, even though you've stepped back for a few years?
Yeah, I mean, you can step back, but it isn't like I live in a cave. I have a lot of friends that are at NRCA, a lot of dear friends at NRCA, and a lot of dear friends that are contractors at NRCA, and we talk a lot. And so Texas is a big draw. Dallas is a big draw, and San Antonio has always been a big draw for IRE, and prior to that, for the NRCA convention. And so it's a great city to go to. Lots of history, great restaurants, lots of things to do, as well as attending a really good show. And people are making money right now, and so I expect a record crowd. I expect that Informa is going to put together a great trade show, and that the educational programs are going to be just top notch like they've always been. And so the roofing industry will show up down to San Antonio, and I'm going to be excited to be there. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit warmer than it is today.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your time, Reid. We're really excited to hear your stories. And listen, if anyone is listening, please make sure you follow us at roofingcontractor.com. Check out all our social media so you can stay up to date on all the great interviews we are doing, like we are today with Reid. But most importantly, stay safe and healthy, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. Reid, thank you so much.